to our YouTube channel. Today we're doing a question and answer segment based on questions from pre-service interns. So our first question from John is,
reflect on your learning by revisiting, rethinking, reflecting on all assigned readings, lectures, seminars, and assignments. In addition, revisit your blog entries as they are reflections of your thoughts and questions at different points of time throughout the semester.
The first little bit was based around the Tyler rationale, which was a series of like 4 questions, and it was more teacher-based than like a student-based learning, and it was a product of the curriculum.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about philosophies, and so for our blog post we each had to pick a philosopher and a quote, and one of the quotes that we actually both picked was, education is a social process, education is growth, education is not preparation for life, but it is life itself. So we just went through and like kind of talked about how we think education is life and how you don't just learn things in school, but you learn things outside of school.
So the next thing that we talked about was what a good student was, which was based on articles obviously that we were given, and it was talking about how there are good students in the classroom and there's privileged and what they basically mean.
And then we went on to talk about citizenship education. So this was more so talking about what makes a good citizen and how we learned about that there's 3 types of citizens: justice orientated, personal responsible, and participatory. And we just kind of went through and did that.
We went through and talked about how the curriculum came to be, how it came from like politics and it got built into what it is today.
Mm-hmm. And then we went through and we did a deconstruction of the curriculum, which was an assignment that we had to hand in. And we talked about the literacy models, which there's 2, autonomous and ideological. And these we had to put into our curriculum deconstruction. So we're full embedded into the curriculum at this point.
Okay, so the next thing that we went on to throughout the course was curriculum as a place. So it's basically saying that you can teach the curriculum wherever you are. It's going to be different based on your location.
And then we went on to talk about we are all treated people. So we had a guest speaker come in, and she's from Moose Jaw, and we talked about how she is with her 8 and 9-year-olds. She brings treaty education in, and just how important treaty ed is and how to implement it and how to come over those fears.
We had another guest speaker come in. Her name was Gail. She goes on to speak about how mathematics, how Indigenous came to do their math because they never wrote anything down. It was all kind of just oral. It goes on to speak of how they have a base 20 system instead of a 10 system, which is a lot more cool because if you think about it, you got your hands and your toes, and that's how they counted it.
Mm-hmm. So Susie asks us to reflect on and to synthesize your understanding of curriculum. What is curriculum? How have your understanding of curriculum changed throughout the course, and why?
Okay, so I guess for me, I never really knew much about curriculum until I came into this course. Like, you know, I knew like it was something that teachers used. I never actually went through it and like went through like the deconstruction, I guess, of it. Like, that was actually a really cool experience. I learned a lot of aspects that come with the curriculum I never knew existed.
Mm-hmm. Like, we learned that there are different types of curriculum. There's like curriculum as product, curriculum as praxis, and curriculum as process.
Process, yeah.
And then we kind of went in like, I did not know that there was a renewed and non-renewed curriculum when I came in, and that some of the curriculums are older than me.
There's another 4 different types of curriculum. There's the formal curriculum that we discussed, the hidden curriculum, the established curriculum, and the learned curriculum, which are all like based around the students' learning of where they're learning it from and what they're learning it about, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then we dug right into like the formal curriculum and we deconstructed it, and there was things that I had no idea were even in the curriculum. And we also looked at how it was made, so like how there was different people in the process of making it, so teachers, students, business people, yeah, like, and that's all built in. Steven asks, all teachers are simultaneously consumers, critics, and producers of the curriculum. In what ways you see yourself approaching the curriculum?
Ways I see myself like approaching the curriculum because it is so old, I would like to try and implement newerish material into it, so that students get like a base, and also to incorporate more treaty education into it, because like for me as a student, I never actually learned that stuff in school, so more about treaty education and better ways to like implement it into my classes.
For me, I would say that I'm going to be a critic because we've already deconstructed it and I already was a critic, and I'm going to continue to be a critic. I think I'm also going to be a producer because I'm going to take the curriculum and I'm going to try to implement it on other children, but make sure that I don't see it as a checklist.
I definitely agree with the not checklist thing. I want it to be more student-based learning than like what the Tyler Rationale kind of has it based around as like the teacher learning. It should be based around the students' needs.
As Jason states, thinking on your agency and approach to the curriculum, how do you see yourself as a curriculum developer, curriculum maker, transmitter of the curriculum content, curriculum shaper, curriculum enhancer, and any other ways you might add here?
Like I kind of stated before, I want to implement more of the treaty education and be based around student learning.
Personally, for me, I think that I want to approach the curriculum as inclusion. I want everyone to be included. I want, as a developer, I see myself as more so creating my lessons around the curriculum, but making, like I said, making sure everyone's included. Transmitter of curriculum content, exactly. I want to, as I said previous, I want to transmit it to them, but I don't want to overwhelm them. As a curriculum shaper, oh my goodness, I get to make lesson plans, so I get to choose different parts of the curriculum, which outcomes I'm going to use and which objectives I'm going to use.
Which that's actually a really good point, because that makes it a lot easier for us, the teacher, to decide what the students will want to learn and what they'd be interested in, which makes them more involved in their learning, in their own seeking of knowledge, if you will. As a curriculum enhancer, you can, as the teacher, decide what is worth knowing and what isn't so much, and then focus more on what is worth knowing and implement things that maybe aren't in your curriculum as it should be.
Brandon asks, examine how this place, ECS 210, has shaped you, challenged your beliefs, made you experience some bumps or uncomfortable learning.
I guess for the uncomfortable learning, actually, for me throughout this course was the learning of the white privilege and it being pointed out to us, because for me, I never ever thought that I used my white privilege for anything, but it was really pointed out that because of our white culture, if you will, it's more dominant opposed to others.
Things that challenged my beliefs. I don't know if there was really anything that challenged my beliefs, but for uncomfortable learning, I would definitely say the white privilege and a little bit of the treaty education, because I was surprised how little people teach it, because even when I went through school, we didn't learn it much. So I really want to implement that into each one of my classrooms. As place of where we were on Treaty 4 land learning this. We were in a city. Most of the kids that were in our class were white settlers. There wasn't a lot of diversity, mostly females, a couple males. Yeah. You know, so that really impacted the way that we learned.
And the white privilege thing, people automatically, because of my color, put me in the white privilege, even though I'm Métis, they don't know that, so I'm put in that category of white privilege.
Brad says, we are always in the process of becoming teachers. What areas of growth do you identify for yourself?
I would definitely say that the part of my growth that I still identify with is I'm still, I'm a pre-service teacher, but at the same time I'm a student, because I have so much more learning to go through. Now that I know more about the curriculum, I know I don't know everything. So I'm excited to keep learning. I'm excited to continue my journey as a pre-service teacher to eventually become a teacher.
I agree with that, because I believe that you're always constantly learning. As we have learned about the hidden curriculum, that's things that kids bring in because they are never empty vessels and needing to be filled. So yeah, being able to constantly learn is something that really identifies with my area of growth and identity.
To go on with what you were saying, about the blank slate.
Mhm.
I know as a teacher, we have been in classrooms already, and it's funny because you're the teacher, but yet at the same time, you're still learning from what you're teaching and from the students themselves.
Mhm.
So as a teacher, I think it's very important to not go into the classroom with the attitude of I know everything, because once you hit that point, I believe you failed as a teacher and you failed the students.
I definitely agree. Stephanie says, what questions/fears remain and how will you address them?
My biggest fear is getting a part, say in the curriculum that I'm trying to teach, wrong. I just taught myself wrong, and then the students asking questions about it and me not being able to answer it properly because I didn't inform myself properly of the criteria. Also very terrified to get questions from students and not being able to answer them when they are asked. It worries me that I'm not going to be able to be the best me I can be in a classroom.
To go off that, I agree with what Sydney is saying here, because like being a new teacher, the biggest fear is, for me personally, would be to have the outcomes and think that I'm meeting them with everyone and that everyone's learning them. And I understand not every person is going to grasp every single outcome, but it is very difficult to think that you've mastered it or your kids have mastered it when they actually haven't, and they're walking out learning nothing or not being able to stretch them, not being able to push them further and think deeper.
With this, I think a good way to solve these problems would be to do formative assessments and summative assessments and the diagnostic assessments to see what they learned before they get into class, so you know what they already know. And as you teach the content from the curriculum, you do formative assessments to see what they're learning and what they're grasping and what they may not be grasping, which is a really good tool for teachers to use, and it can help the students learn better and understand the content that they are to learn.
Yeah, the best part about assessment is the fact that it is to see what the kids need to help them better themselves so that they can become deeper thinkers, because you are taking what you think they learned or what they should have learned by this process, and if they haven't, then you go back and you better them, or you go further and you think deeper.
Those are all of our questions that we've been asked. There wasn't many, but I mean, they're good thinkers. I'm definitely going to be thinking about my answers, but throughout my teaching career, these are questions that I think as a teacher you should hold on to so you can always better yourself.
Reflecting is one of the best parts of teaching, is you constantly have to reflect and self-assess.
I don't know if it helped any of you guys, but I really hope it did. If you have any more questions, please
Put it in the comments below.
I guess we'll see you next time.
Peace out!